even as the electoral clock starts ticking, a legal question over the exact election date has opened a fresh constitutional debate, one revolving around the meaning of the 5th year and the president's 5-year term under the Constitution. This story was produced by Alvin Kithinji and voiced by Stanley Nyaringita.
10th August 2026. Exactly 1 year before Kenyans head to the polls, but the countdown to the 2027 general election is already starting both legal and political debate. A ruling by the Malindi High Court on Friday last week placed the spotlight on Article 136 2A of the Constitution, nullifying the 2027 election date set for 10th August, declaring it null and void for violating the Constitution. In her ruling, Malindi High Court Judge Mugure Thande held that the 5-year term following the August 9, 2022 general election began on 10th August 2022, meaning the election must be held within the 5th year and not after its expiry. To avoid a constitutional crisis, Justice Mugure Thande suspended the implementation of the declaration, allowing time for any appeals and preventing disruption of the electoral process. The judgment triggered reactions from across the political divide.
It is just impracticable. Haiwezekani. Kusema kweli, hiyo haiwezekani. Uamuzi huo ukae hivyo. If anything, I don't know, we should, maybe somebody should make an appeal to set the record straight on grounds of inability to enforce that judgment.
That there is no 5-year term anywhere in the law provided to the president, members of parliament, or the governors. They only serve until the next date of the elections. Then the president becomes a temporary incumbent. Members serve as temporary until the next parliament is sworn in.
The ruling has, however, not immediately altered the election calendar, and as legal arguments continue, the electoral body is moving ahead with preparations based on its announced roadmap. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission says the 2027 election timetable is guided by lessons from previous electoral cycles, court decisions, observer recommendations and consultations with stakeholders. At the launch of the IEBC Strategic Plan 2024 to 2029 and Election Operations Plan 2025 to 2027, the Commission outlined a series of deadlines that will shape the journey to the ballot. Public officers intending to vie for elective seats will be required to resign by February 9, 2027. Political parties must submit membership lists by 16th March 2027. While party primaries and dispute resolution processes are expected to be concluded by 9th May 2027. Candidate nominations will take place between 29th May and 11th June 2027, with the official campaign period running from 29th May until August 7th, just 48 hours before Kenyans head to the ballot on 10th of August 2027. Under the roadmap, political parties must conclude their primaries and resolve all intra-party disputes by 9th May 2027, as the Commission seeks to avert nomination wrangles spilling into the election period. The Commission says independent candidates will also be required to meet key deadlines, including party membership and submitting the intended names and symbols by 9th May 2027. After nominations, candidates will have a limited window to campaign, with the official campaign period ending 48 hours before polling day. IEBC Chairperson Erastus Ethekon says the Commission is committed to protecting the integrity of the electoral process, safeguarding the secrecy of the ballot, and ensuring every vote counts.
The elections must be transparent, administered in an impartial, neutral, efficient, accountable, accurate, and based on universal suffrage and free expression of the will of the electors.
Chief Justice Martha Koome has challenged institutions involved in elections to uphold fairness, transparency and accountability. She emphasized that public confidence in elections depends on strict adherence to the law, credible processes and effective oversight of electoral systems and technology.
So as we embrace innovation, we must ensure that our legal frameworks adequately address issues of our data protection, our cyber security, transparency in electoral technologies, and accountability in electoral processes.
The debate over the election date is not new. Kenya faced a similar constitutional question in 2012 during the transition to the 2010 constitution, when courts had to determine how existing political terms aligned with the new constitutional order.
Rais wa sita mwaka! Tarehe 10 mwaka!
More than a decade later, the country is again confronting the difficult task of interpreting the relationship between a 5-year presidential term and the 5th-year election requirement. The central question remains, does the Constitution require elections to happen during the 5th calendar year after presidential election, or does the 5-year term determine when that period begins and ends? While courts may ultimately provide the final word, for now, political parties, aspiring candidates and voters are working with one clear message from the Electoral Commission: the countdown to 2027 has begun.